And my first question is to you. Can you be a great coach without being a great leader? Because my answer is no. Leading can be incredibly collaborative by nature, and many coaches understand that process. I work with coaches. I hear the patterns over and over. Leading your clients. First of all, 90% of the coaches don't even have clients to lead them to begin with.
Hey, it's Daniel, and you are about to watch a clip from our free podcast, The Coach's Journey, where we help you navigate the surprisingly difficult path of building a coaching business by people who are actually doing it. And we go live, raw, and unedited every week in our free Facebook community.
And my first question is to you. Can you be a great coach without being a great leader? And it's sort of a trick question, because my answer is no, definitely not. And my assertion is that most coaches, I'm talking 90% plus, are not great leaders. And I'll qualify that before you jump at my throat. I'll qualify that for you. So we'll start with, why is it important to be a great leader as a coach? Now, keep in mind, I didn't say you have to be successful financially. You have to be a leader in business. I didn't say you have to be successful in specific areas. But leadership to me is synonymous to coaching. And it's also synonymous with another term, and that's a salesperson. And also synonymous with a business owner, also synonymous with parent, with husband, with wife, with any role you're in, including coaching. They're all synonymous to each other. And why is that? Because and leadership being the top umbrella here, not coaching. Coaching, I would say, is a subset of leadership. I look at it that way. A salesperson is a subset of a leader. A parent is a subset of a leader, and so on and so forth. And the reason why I'm framing it like this is that there's one major condition to leadership, is that you need to be leading something. Now, you could be leading yourself, and by self, I mean as your body, your consciousness, your mind, those kind of things. And it starts with that. If you cannot lead yourself, you cannot lead anybody else. And then after that, it's other people. In fact, some coaches are actually extreme in there. For example, Jason Goldberg will say, and I've interviewed him directly on this. See, he believes in one form of leadership. And I think it's a little extreme, but still it kind of illustrates the point of the power of this, is that he believes in one type of leadership, and that's self-leadership. And he says everything else is an expression of that. I can even go with that because it's a good model. Doesn't mean it's fully true, but it's a good model to work through. But in my view, when I look at leadership, is that yes, you starts with self-leadership, and well, I'll talk about the problem with that, and go towards leading your family, your friends, your community, and those kind of things. Of course, I want to qualify, leading is not the kind of rah-rah leadership. It's like follow me and or get out of the way, those kind of things. It's leading can be incredibly collaborative by nature, and many coaches understand that process. But it can also be assertive by nature, assertive depending on the context. Now, your philosophy might be more towards collaborative versus assertive versus authoritarian. It doesn't actually, those are the details within leadership, but ultimately you're supporting a set of people, but you're starting with supporting yourself. And there's an assumption here, is that you are leading something. It starts with you leading your mind, leading your body, leading your instincts, leading your thought process, those kind of things. And where it breaks down for leaders and for coaches is actually the beginning process, which is leading yourself. Most coaches, and this was including me, are not very good at leading themselves. Most coaches struggle with time management. They struggle with their thoughts and emotions. They struggle with taking care of themselves. That could be physically, mentally, emotionally, spiritually. And by the way, those are struggles for everybody. Now, I'm not saying a coach needs to be perfect by any means. I'm not. But most coaches have not tackled these areas of self-leadership head on. Here's the difference. They've studied a lot about it in theory, and maybe I'll even give them that. A time in their life where they let themselves out of a difficult challenge. That could be a marriage, that could be a health challenge or something like that. But then when they got out of that years ago, they stopped leading themselves in a positive direction. And how do I know this? Because their current pattern is the opposite of the values they espouse. They will say that, it took me resilience to get through this, but they're not resilient in their business. It took me hard work to get through this, but they don't work very hard in their business. It took me dedication and discipline to go through this, but they're not very dedicated. They've adapted vague words, arbitrary words that kind of explain the concept behind it, but it doesn't point to any evidence that they're doing anything towards it. And what's worse is that they've convinced themselves that they're really good at that leadership. And I'll start with myself. Years ago, I did this. The first couple of years of my business, the way it looked like is that I would say that I'm going to show up and do the work and start working on building in the business. And a business has multiple skill sets in it. It's your level of confidence, it's internal, your skill sets to support somebody as a coach, the questions you ask, the way you listen, those kind of things. It is also your skill set to sell, your skill set to get organized with your time, your skill set to manage finances, your skill set to support other people around you. That could be a team that you built, or in your skill set for all kinds of things. So all those, there are multiple skill sets as a business owner and as a coach you need to develop, and it takes time, it takes energy, patience, so many things. But I would say that I want to build those things, but what my instinct was to go attend a coaching call, attend a community call of some kind, go, let me read about this, which are not bad things inherently, but then I became obsessed about courses and attending classes and being part of a coaching community and those kind of things. And now I run a coaching community. I actually encourage people to not show up to the sessions. Our sessions are very small because if they've gotten what they need, I want them to go work on it. But I was encouraged to show up to sessions constantly, consume more materials. You will see so many programs in the world of coaching and personal development where I would ask a coach, what did you do in the past 2 to 3 weeks? Just tell me about it. Not in a judgmental way, but what did you focus on? They'll say, I just spent 18 hours this week consuming the material for this program, whatever the program is, X program. Okay, what was the effect of that? Well, I got some powerful insights and everything. What did you do with that? Nothing. Nada. So that's the first step where coaches completely fail, is that they don't lead themselves into better time management, better energy management, better relationship management, better resource management, their finances, better leading of their homes and those kind of things. And it sounds very judgmental, but I work with coaches. I hear the patterns over and over. And I did start 10 years ago and I had the same exact patterns, and that hasn't changed much. In fact, it's gotten worse, to be honest. You would think that with AI, with all the tools, with all the incredible things that have come around in the past few years, 2 to 3 years, coaches should have gotten better. You see more posts online, a few ones here and there, but you see virtually no consistency, even though you can create it in the 10th of a time your appearance can be there. You don't see them out there putting themselves really out there. They show up for a few months and then disappear. A lot like when people show up at a gym for the first 3 months in the beginning of the year as a New Year's resolution. You see them for a few months, they disappear. Now, I've been in this space for a good 10 years plus, and I see a lot of my peers, quite a few people that I run into conferences. They'll say they will show up for like a few months, then they will completely disappear for a few years, and then they will come back again because some program promoted to them and uh, connected to their pain points, and they said, well, you're missing this and this and this, and then they come back and they think that they did that, they're ready, but the program was very good at convincing them from a marketing and sales point that you're missing those things. They might not even be ready, they might not even care about this thing. I know I'm being a little bit harsh here, but that's the language I had to use with myself to get myself to face reality. And the reality was I was not as dedicated in the beginning. And I had to really step into the leader role and say, you know what, if I'm gonna lead my family, if I'm gonna lead my community, and if I'm gonna have a team that I lead in business, I better start with leading myself. And I had the same story. I had to work through a lot of struggles and so many things. But I was struggling to maintain consistency in my business, the consistency to reach out to people, to support people, the consistency to make offers, the consistency to promote myself online and in person, the consistency to ask for referrals, the consistency to put content out. All that stuff I struggled with because I was scared. I was scared. I kept going back to my safety net, which was reading more books, watching videos, being part of courses and programs. Yes, those were helpful, but they didn't actually help me move forward. That was up to me. And then the second piece of it is leading somebody. Now, start with your own home. And that's why I like Mother Teresa's quote around this, whether you like her or not, is that if you want to change the world, go love your family. You will see that a lot of coaches struggle with that. Again, not we don't need perfection here. They look at their family as a distraction. I did in the beginning. I hear the same patterns from other coaches as well as like, oh, I feel like I don't have time. I have to spend all this time with my family, with my friends. And they haven't set the right boundaries. They don't take responsibility for it, and then they end up blaming those around them, their wife, their kids, all kinds of people because they haven't figured out the power of setting boundaries and knowing what's important to them and sacrificing some of the things that in the short term so they can gain something long term. They haven't developed that yet in this context. So they won't admit it and they will just say that they're hindering me. And I would say the same stories. And later on I realized without my family, I wouldn't even have the motivation to do all this. And then leading your clients. First of all, 90% of the coaches don't even have clients to lead them to begin with. And then they will say, well, where am I going to find clients? Well, I'll say this, there are 8 billion people. I don't even care if they're paid or unpaid. Your role is to find somebody to coach. That's your job as a leader in this context to coach somebody. And I recommend to every coach that I see, you need at least 3 clients consistently that you're working with. I don't care if they're paid or unpaid. Work on the business stuff afterwards, but I need you to reach out to friends, family, whoever. Go find a way to coach them. You need to have consistent clients that you're meeting with every week and you're supporting them. Most coaches do not do this. They would rather go read a book. They would rather go join a program and do, and sometimes they will do the safe coaching practice with other coaches and they get lovely feedback of you're an amazing coach. And coaches suck at feedback, just so you know. I know this because I have a lot of data behind this. 5 years of testing, putting coaches in rooms and getting them to give each other feedback. They completely suck at it. They can only say the positive, the negative, and the real feedback never comes out. In fact, they would come to us, the leadership team and coaching mastery community, and they'll be like, how do I give this feedback to them? Of course, we'll guide them, but a lot of it is fear, and a lot of it is they don't know how to frame it. They don't know how to be explicit. They don't know how to say what's on their mind. If they don't know how to say it to other coaches, they don't know how to say it to their clients, and that's where they struggle to get clients because they don't challenge them enough. They're too empathic, and they think that they're empathic. What they are is scared, usually. And I'm being harsh on purpose here because sometimes tough love is good. I wish well, actually, a bunch of people did say this stuff to me. They said it in much harsher ways than I'm saying to you. But I'm saying this because leadership requires you to lead yourself first. So if you're struggling in the space of time management, energy management, your focus, your ability to go reach out to people and deal with your fears, all that stuff, it's your job to work through that stuff. Get a coach. Whatever you need to do, work through it. Change your behavior. Will it. I don't care what you have to do. Your first job is to build that stuff in. Your second job is to find coaches, not coaches, clients that you can support. I don't care who it is, paid or unpaid, at least 3 consistently. And then your third job becomes is now you need to focus on what you need to do in your business. If you don't know what to do in that area, many coaches do, then reach out to us. We'll support you. Listen to some of the other podcasts that we've talked about around marketing and sales. It'll help you understand what that is. Sales is also a leadership role, by the way. Marketing is also a leadership role. You just haven't adapted it because you think that's a different thing. I don't care about business. I care about coaching. They're all the same. It's just that it's a different context, different framework, different types of questions you would ask. But and by the way, sales is very close to coaching, and it's almost identical. When you understand coaching well, you know that almost everything about coaching is influence, and everything about influence is sales. And I put coaching and sales in that category of influence. And influence is a leadership process, and leadership is the bigger umbrella. You might have not heard it in this way, but I want you to take a hard look at your day-to-day life, your week-to-week life. What are you doing? Are you focused on the right thing as a coach, things as a coach? If 70% of your time is not dedicated to reaching out to people, supporting them, and making them offers, you're not doing the right thing. If you're spending time working through ChatGPT or working on your website or working on your social media content, Yeah, spend some time, but you should be able to do that in the tenth of that time. Like 10% of your time to 30% max is going attending classes, courses, certification, and putting out content. 70% should be focused on creating business, which means it's focused on sales, which means leadership, which means coaching people, which means making offers that are scary to do for coaches. I saying this because I needed to hear these a few years ago, and I say this to this day to myself. And by the way, none of these areas I'm even close to great at. I just do it more consistently than you. I've gone over some of this stuff. I deal with resistance where there is. I am not perfect in any of these areas. I do all the things that I described. I get inconsistent at times. I struggle with time management. I struggle with all this stuff. But if you compare me to most other coaches, 90% of the coaches, I am much more consistent on average. I'm much more focused. I'm much more dedicated. My behavior appears like that because I've learned to self-lead. And then I also lead a lot more people. I have clients that actually lead consistently. I have a team that I lead. I have a family that I lead. I have a community that I lead. So there's lots of practice that I get as a leader slash as a coach. I want to hear your take on it. Was that too harsh? And if I was, I'm okay with that. But what's your perspective on this? Do you connect those two things? Are you struggling in these or areas? How are you moving forward consistently? And maybe you have a completely different way of approaching this. I'm completely open to that. Share that below. I'm super excited to hear from you, whether it's in our Facebook group, in our WhatsApp group, or in on our YouTube channel if you're hearing this a few months later. Make sure you share this with another coach if this is already out on YouTube. If you're in our group, invite that coach into our group so they can watch the live here because it's raw, uncensored, and it's like this. And we want to speak our mind, and really our intention is to support you to become a better leader, a better coach, a coach that actually serves people and they're building a business, profitable business in the process. If that's valuable to you, make sure you book a call with us. You should see a link below, cmc.coach, or if you're in our group, just send me a message and I'm happy to book a short call with you to see how we can support you. Until my next conversation, hope you have an incredible day. Bye.